Hello and welcome to EB-5 Investment Report. I'm Amy Rios. I recently attended the ILW.com EB-5 Summit for attorneys and developers at the Millennium Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. I was able to talk with Paul Ruby, General Counsel, ILW, and other attendees about the importance of the event and current issues facing the EB-5 Regional Center program. Michael Gibson, Managing Director of U.S. Advisors, who runs EB5info.com, talked with me regarding some of his thoughts on issues facing the Regional Center program. I was able to speak with Al Rattan, President and co-founder of USA Continental Regional Center, about RadNet's Medical Imaging Center's grand opening and their latest EB-5 project, the Continental Medical Center. He also explained how to use direct and indirect jobs for EB-5 projects. In speaking with Morgan Smith, Development Representative for the California Regional Center, he explained some of the challenges currently facing EB-5 regional centers. We're here with Paul Ruby, General Counsel for ILW.com. Paul, can you tell us why an event like this is so important to the EB-5 community?
Well, we worked very hard to create the program for this particular event. We wanted something that had appeal to everyone on all sides of the EB-5 community, both the immigration attorneys as well as the developer side. So we've made a program that we think is going to be useful to both, the counsel for the investors as well as the developers and their attorneys.
And what are some of the biggest challenges you see facing the EB-5 program?
Well, for the last year, the biggest challenge has been getting it renewed, but fortunately, it appears that that's just happened, and that's, we've now got another 3 years in front of us. Going forward, there are a lot of problems, or not a lot of problems, there are challenges like there are anything in life. Nothing good comes without some hard work. But the biggest challenge is being able to get into new markets. Currently, there's a tremendous dependency on investment coming from China, and many regional centers are looking to diversify. So how those regional centers are going to be able to get into, other markets is really the question that's kind of on everyone's mind.
Now, what are some of the biggest challenges and issues that the EB-5 program faces?
The biggest one easily is lack of transparency. So many of the projects will do booths here. You can see several. We go to conferences where you can see, but it's not a lot of factual information. So our hardest job is actually finding out the details in the offering documents, how much of that can be independently verified, and are the claims being made by the promoters and the developers reasonable? And to be honest with you, this is a huge task for us, and I think for the investors themselves it must be even more difficult given their language and distance barriers.
Going along those lines, what are some of the challenges that investors face?
Again, it has to do with information. So it's a lack of credibility, I think, in the market. The market is conditioned by agents and finders, and they don't oftentimes give the best information. They're trying to obtain a commission. They may be working for the highest bidder, so they may be promoting information in a project which may be misleading. And I think for the investors, it's hard for them to determine what is factual and accurate versus what are the claims being made.
So what are some of the issues that you think USCIS faces with the EB-5 program?
Well, I think they need to work more closely with some of the securities agencies. The big problem, I think, is that they're ignoring the fact, or maybe not ignoring, but they're putting aside the fact that these are the sales of securities. And for many of the investors, they're purchasing a security. They're depending on the outcome of this to be successful, so they can have a better life for them and their families. And the possible failure of this investment to either create the jobs and remove the conditions or return the principal at a future date and time is a very real and serious one. And I think USCIS would do well to look more closely at the practices of some of these agents and finders and even some of the centers in the promotion and distribution of the information.
We're here with Michael Homeyer. He's an attorney, and we're discussing the EB-5 program. Can you tell us what role that your firm plays in the EB-5 program?
Yes, my firm is a corporate and securities law firm. We don't do the immigration part of EB-5. We do the work that involves drafting up the investment documents and papers so that the U.S. business can lawfully sell the investment opportunity to investors overseas.
What are some of the challenges that you face?
Well, the challenges that we face is being able to describe the project fully in all of its detail, including risks as well as opportunities, giving a fair analysis and really informing the investor of what it is he's getting into before he makes the decision to put his money into the project.
And why is an event like this so important for you to attend and just in the EB-5 community in general?
It's very important to us because it gives us the opportunity not only to provide information and education to other practitioners in the business, also to meet people who are active or interested in getting active, and remind folks that there are laws out there that need to be followed, but they can be followed, and if people follow them, they can be successful at this.
You just celebrated the grand opening of RadNet. Can you tell me about the jobs that are going to be created through that, and can you explain direct jobs versus indirect jobs?
Sure. What a regional center is allowed to do through our business program is we're allowed to also count indirect jobs and induced jobs. And so I'm going to start with the induced jobs first. RadNet is forecasting, when they're in full operation, about a year and a half out, is 50 new jobs. But RadNet has put $10 million into the building, $7 million equipment alone. Well, imagine, and these are all brand new machines, from CAT scanners to nuclear machines, just a variety of imaging machines. Well, those machines had to be built. That, in a sense, creates jobs. So the typical multiplier is about 0.4%. So for every job that the regional center is able to count, we're able to do in the combination of induced and direct. So RadNet alone would be pushing almost 100.
Wow.
As the example on the indirect is that maybe their employees from time to time want to take a break, they go over to Starbucks across the way, and so a variety of things that happens. They go to the local cleaners, they go to the restaurants, and so that's the multiplier, that ripple down effect that works for a regional center.
Now, what are some of the biggest challenges that you see facing the EB-5 program?
I think that the biggest challenges that EB-5 is facing today is that the USCIS is starting to regulate more and is asking for more evidence to demonstrate that there's jobs, which I think is a good thing. But it's going to take a little while for the industry to understand what the federal government is asking for, and I think that very much in time it's going to be a great program, because what happens with, let's say, that immigrant coming into the United States is that not only are they investing that $500,000, they're buying houses, they're buying cars, they're sending their kids to school. And that sounds like a pretty good program, since the United States, we need capital, and I think it's really what America was really built about, which is immigration.
We're here with Darren DiNicola, Vice President of NES Financial. Darren, can you tell us about your company and what do you guys do?
Sure. NES Financial provides a host of services related to EB-5 transactions. Primarily, we started out as an EB-5 escrow administrator. We provide both a technology and client service solution to administer EB-5 escrow accounts. And we've recently launched other products related to EB-5, such as a virtual file share system. And on the back end, our settlement escrows and construction escrows. So we provide security, transparency, and an audit trail for the USCIS of investor funds coming in from overseas into the escrow accounts. And we provide specific sub-accounting for each individual investor, so that they can see their funds and know that they're safe as they are waiting for I-526 approval and eventual release into the project.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you see investors face going through the EB-5 process?
Well, recently I think what I'm hearing most often is that there's a delayed there's a longer delay in the approval process for the I-526 forms. So that means it takes longer for the money to get deployed into the projects. And in the meantime, the money, though, is secure if they're using an escrow for the safekeeping of those funds.
As a regional center, what are some of the challenges that you face?
Well, the EB-5 world is very complex. It's difficult to navigate. They're always changing the laws and the rules. So you're really trying to look at what others are doing, try and model yourself after them. But I see the EB-5 world expanding into smaller markets, both globally and economically. And a big challenge is all the what ifs. And when you put that application in, I mean, you're waiting minimum 4 months, upwards 12 months, and you have no idea. So you try and be as best prepared as possible, get the best team to make sure you're not going to get any requests for evidence. And it's a lot of finger crossing and kind of hoping for the best.
Yeah, I hear some of these processing times can take years. What are some things that the USCIS can do to help improve the program?
I think they're doing a good job. They're expanding their office. They're really doing their due diligence, which I think is critical. I mean, there's a lot of potential for people to take advantage of the system, and I'm very happy that the U.S. government is stepping in and not letting it get out of control, so that way it's sustainable and a real manageable system. But the USCIS just needs to listen, and they have their quarterly conference calls, which I think are great for collaboration. They're going to allow us to start meeting with them in person, which I think would be very helpful. But it's a difficult road to manage. The markets are changing. You're dealing with investors from all over the world of different socioeconomic classes. There's a lot of challenges, and I have a lot of sympathy for them, and I want them to keep going.
Summit topics spanned from key considerations in EB-5 project selection to source of funds issues, importance of business plans, and due diligence on the part of investors. One of the most poignant parts of the event was when Michael Gibson stated that 50% of EB-5 projects would fail. Many were surprised, if not shocked, by this statement. Gibson said, "That's probably a conservative number. It could be higher." I'm Amy Rios, and I want to thank you for watching this edition of EB-5 Investment Report.